So this is Senior Master Coordinator Bob Ferguson, and it is my delight to have one of my very best friends in the world, Master Coordinator Suzanne Chaney. We go back a long way, don't we, Suzanne?
Very long way.
Very long way. So we were mere pups when we met each other. That was many years ago. So tonight we're going to hear Suzanne's story, which is a marvelous Shaklee story, and then we're going to talk about how to gather our courage and what to do if we want to talk to doctors, medical professionals about Shaklee. And we're going to use a recent experience you've had, Suzanne, as kind of a touchstone for what can happen. It may not happen, but what can happen when we kind of get our courage up and we talk about wellness to our medical professional friends. So it's just delightful having you with me.
Thanks.
So why don't we I'll turn the mic over to you, so to speak, and let's hear about how all this happened.
My Shaklee story first, I presume?
Shaklee story first, right?
Well,
And all the Shaklee transitions you've made in your life, which are numerous.
I've made lots of Shaklee transitions. I'm definitely not the person who started my Shaklee business in 1970. It's just a total different person who I am. But my mom is the one who found Shaklee for our family when I was a young teenager. So I benefited from Shaklee for 98% of my life. And I had a mom who was very health oriented, even in the time when that wasn't what the common people, that wasn't the way people lived. Mom could be qualified as a health nut from the 50s and 60s, but she was not a hippie. She was just an ordinary housewife who was really interested in the best she could do for her family's health. And she tried several different kinds of vitamins, and she worked in a health food store. And she never found anything that really worked until she found Shaklee. So I've used Shaklee all my life. Shaklee's been a part of my life. If Shaklee went away, I wouldn't have anything to eat. I wouldn't have anything to wash my clothes with or my face or take a bath. I'd be at the creek. So I never go to a drugstore. The only time I go there is to get dental floss, and I actually hate walking into that place because it's so depressing. So I met Steve in graduate school at UCLA in the chemistry department, literally over a test tube rack. So that's where we met. After graduate school, we got married. We were in graduate school when we got married and had a couple of years to go. And after we finished graduate school, we did some postgraduate studies at St. Louis. Stephen was working at the University of Washington, Washington University, and I was at St. Louis University. We were there for a couple of years, and then Steve got the job at UNC in the medical school, and I got a job at Burroughs Wellcome doing neurotransmitter research on rat brains. I had to kill the rat. That was the worst part of it all. Anyway, and then I was hired by the Environmental Protection Agency to run a human studies clinical lab for the Human Studies Division, and it was on campus, so that was nice. I was on the same campus that Steve was, but just in a different building, so we could drive to work together. And as time went on, we wanted to have a family, and when Mark came along, I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and we were kind of thinking about we needed to prepare before that happened. And so we were looking at things, and Mom out of my bedroom at home in California was making more money than the two of us put together with our high-powered jobs. Me working for the EPA and him working in the medical school at UNC, and Mom was home. No high-powered job.
Back in the dough, right?
No high-powered job, but she was making more money than the two of us put together. And the cost of inflation was, I think, 18% at that time, and our increase in pay was 5%. So we thought, well, maybe we should try this Shaklee business.
Sliding in the wrong direction, right?
Yeah. So you have to picture this. We were two lab rats. We didn't have to communicate with people. We were playing with test tube rats and chemicals, and doing tests of various and sundry things. And Steve was doing some teaching. So we had no communication skills, no people skills, no business skills, We didn't know anybody, and we were going to start this Shaklee business.
Knew a bunch of rats. That was about it.
And we finally decided that we would go to the Raleigh Organic Gardening Club and that we might find some like-minded people there. So that's where we really started our business. And we found a dentist there that we became friends with. They lived on the coast in Mount Olive, which was about 2.5 hours from our home. And we would go down there. First off, we started going down there every week because they needed help. They didn't know anything about Shaklee, and they didn't know much. We didn't know much more than they did as far as the business. But we went down there every week and did a meeting for them, and they started taking off. And we did a meeting every month, and they introduced it to another dentist in Fayetteville, and she introduced it to a natural bodybuilder, and all of a sudden our business started to go. And so what really kicked us into gear was our 10th wedding anniversary was coming up, and Steve had promised, he had taken me to Hawaii for our honeymoon, so he had promised on our 10th anniversary that he was going to take me to Hawaii. Well, the 10th anniversary was getting really close, and we didn't have money to go to Hawaii with, but Shaklee announced that the coordinators convention was in Hawaii, and we had one sales leader and we needed 4. So anyway, long story short, we went to Hawaii as coordinators. At that time is what it was called. We had 4 supervisors that were doing 3,000 PV. That was the qualifications then. And so we enjoyed our time in Hawaii, and that's kind of our business just kept growing. And we were people that were kind of stubborn, and we decided that we were going to make this business work come hell or high water. So we made the decision, and there was many times when it would have been really easy to throw in our hat, but we didn't. And we have, well, now I don't know all the people on this call, but I bet a lot of the people on this call know me, and they all know Dr. Steve, and so we were from nobodies to everybody across the country knows who we are. Steve's done seminars all across the country for different Shaklee groups. Steve's been on the MEC for 4 years. I've been on the MEC for 2. So we're on the field scientific team. So we've really been independent from ourselves being on these committees. We've gotten calls from the home office science people. Well, what do you think about this? So it's been an interesting journey. Not only have we built a good, strong business that we can pass on to our son, we've made a 6-figure income for, I would guess, close to 30 years at this point. That's kind of nice to have that every year coming into your
Really?
into your bank account. So that's kind of our Shaklee story in a nutshell. We're still really busy with our Shaklee business, still looking for new people, servicing our current customers. I still do teleserve. That's one way I really built my business, was the concept of teleserve, where I had set up with people in my group, my customers, that if they were interested, I could call them on a monthly basis. And if they needed something, I could place the order. If they didn't, that was not the reason for the call. And I've built relationships with people up and down, particularly up and down the East Coast, that I've never met face to face, but they've become my friends through my calling them on teleserve. And I've grown their order size from, maybe a bodily and a protein to $400+ a month. So that was the groundwork that really built the business, and from those we found some sales leaders.
So beautiful, Susie. And you've had a few transitions, both in terms of your physical health when you were younger, and then you decided that you would actually become stronger, that you didn't want to, as my mother said, I'm a lady and I'm getting old, but I'll never be a little old lady.
No, that's not it.
And
Only,
that's
only
not
time
what
I'm a
we're talking
senior
about.
citizen is when I don't have to stand in line to get into Trader Joe's during this pandemic stuff.
Exactly. So there are advantages to age,
Advantages.
no doubt about it. But having brittle bones is not one of them. So you had some experiences along the way. So let's talk a little bit about your health experiences, because I think that's what fuels certainly our belief that our own inner experience of what we've done.
Well, I have a couple of health uh, from it when I was a young kid. I had a heart murmur that I could lie in bed. It was loud enough that I could hear it,
Mm.
and so the oxygen wasn't uh, the blood wasn't oxygenated properly, and my dad actually had to keep a oxygen tank at home and give me supplemental oxygen because I would get a really strong pain in my arm. And so my mom put two and two together, and she said, well, if she's not getting enough oxygen, she might need some more vitamin E. And so um, mom fixed me up with vitamin E, and that issue went away. Then when I was, and the heart murmurs healed up too. It's not there anymore. Um, and I was never limited to my activities in school. So that was kind of a minor thing, but smart mom gave me some vitamin E to help circulation, and the oxygenation, I guess, made a difference because of that. I can't prove it, but it was good evidence that it works, cause and effect anyway. And then when I was 9 years old, I saw a picture of myself. There was a drugstore. I grew up in a small town, so the excitement of the day was for the neighborhood kids. Most of the kids in my neighborhood were girls, so we got all dressed up and we went down to the drugstore that just opened because they were going to take your picture. And so the picture was a Polaroid picture. No big deal, but it was exciting for us because what else was there to do in town? And when I saw my picture, I was this chubby, fat little kid. And I said to my mom, I don't want to look like that. So that really started my journey on to be good health and maintain a healthy, body. And I had affirmations that I made that I still say to myself today, that I ate small quantities of the appropriate nutritious foods to build a healthy, strong, happy, healthy body. So, I mean, it's amazing how that affirmation has been in my head since I was a little kid, and that's who I am today. And then the most recent, uh, which has been about 20 some years ago, when I was in my middle 50s, I went to the gynecologist for a health checkup, and she said, have you ever had a bone density test? And I said no, and I agreed to have one just out of curiosity. And she's because I thought I was in good shape because I'd walked and done yoga since I was in high school, and I'd taken calcium since I was a little kid because my mom was into vitamins. But it came back that I had the beginnings of osteopenia. And so when she called me in, when I went back for the results of the bone density scan, she told me that. And she gave me a prescription for Fosamax, which they didn't know at the time, but I said, I don't take drugs. So she said, well, you're going to need this. And I thought to myself, no, I ain't. And because at that time they didn't realize that Fosamax caused your jawbone to crumble. Dentists who will not work on women who have taken Fosamax because of that, and it causes your femur bones to crack. So it just makes your bones more dense and brittle. It doesn't make your bones stronger. So I asked a couple chiropractors in our organization, what should I do? And they both, independent of each other, said, you should get a personal trainer. And so I said to Steve, they said I should get a personal trainer. He says, well, get a personal trainer. So, and I've never really stepped my foot into a gym to lift weights or anything. So that was just kind of not in my experiences. And so the gymnastics coach at Carolina University was a customer of ours. And so I asked him who he might suggest, because I didn't want some just dumb jock type at the gym that was just, the big gorilla types. I wasn't interested in that. I wanted somebody that knew exercise physiology and sports nutrition and that sort of stuff. So he gave me a name of a person, and I signed up with them. And I was going to go just to learn how to do it. Well, it turned into, I really like this. This is a lot of fun. So it became my escape 3 times a week to go to the gym and work out with my trainer and lift weights. So that was in May, and I was supposed to go back in 3 months to get another bone scan to see how the Fosamax was working. And the doctor called me. She was so excited because my bone density gone up 7% in those 3 months. And she said, I've never seen Fosamax work so well. And I said, well, I got news for you. I didn't take Fosamax. And that got her even more excited. She says, well, what did you do? And I said, well, I got a personal trainer and started lifting weights. So that started me on my journey, and I've lifted weights for 20, probably 23 years at this point. So those are.
And I think what we'll do is, Susie, you can send me, well, I see a bunch of pictures on your Facebook. We'll post, when I post this about this call, I will, look at that. Oh my gracious. Move over, guys. We'll post some of the pictures. My favorite one is Susie. Now, you're not a very large person. You're a little wisp of a thing. And there's Susie with a chain around her, dragging this tractor tire across a asphalt. I go, do not mess with that woman. It would not go well. So anyway, it's really impressive what you've been doing. And yeah, I've had my little story where this last year I've took, working out really seriously, and I've done a little 20-minute routine. I went to the gym, and then when COVID time came, I just didn't go to the gym at all. I just did my little 20 minutes, upper body, lower body, and abs. I started to do pull-ups and all that. And all of a sudden, at least by, gauged on how many pull-ups I can do, I'm stronger now at a month less than 70 than I was at age 35, because I can do more pull-ups now than I recall than I could 30 years ago.
When I was 35, I couldn't do a push-up, but now I did 50 push-ups today.
Jeez,
When I
get out of here.
when I worked out, and 50 dips, and so 50 squats.
So it's safe to say that you're never going to have weak bones.
Well, the other interesting, the side follow-up story to the bone density thing is, it was about 6 months after that, and after when my bone density went up 7%, I was at the gym, and I was stretching by pulling on the support of the bench press bar, that heavy bar that goes across, and my shoe slipped on the floor, and I was losing my balance, so I grabbed the bar instead of the support, and the 50-pound bar fell on my extended shin and rolled down it, and I had to have 13 stitches. And I told my trainer, just get some Band-Aids and a towel, and we'll mop up the blood and put some Band-Aids on, because my hour's not up. He said,
I paid for this hour.
I haven't finished my workout. And he said, well, you're in adrenaline shock right now. We're going to, at that point where I was at the gym, there was one of those urgent care across the street. He says, I'm going to take you across the street to the urgent care. So I sat there for quite a while until they saw me, and they did 13 stitches in it, and they gave me some antibiotic, which I didn't take. I just came home and took my Shaklee stuff. And I got home and I thought, dang, my leg didn't break. Because I dropped 50 pounds on my extended shin, and it didn't break. The skin broke and I got cut, but my bone didn't break. So exercise and lifting weights is something that everybody needs to do.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, we could stop the call right now and be completely filled with wonderful feelings and inspiration, but there's more. So we're going to talk about what your recent experience is, because you actually started your business by talking to dentists, and one dentist talked to another dentist, and then they talked to Bobby Brandenburg, and the whole thing started to take off. But tell us about your recent experience with the medical practice.
Well, Steve, particularly Steve, more than me, because I don't really have much faith in MDs. I go to the chiropractor for my needs and get pretty much my health taken care of that way. And every year go for a physical, but I've only been doing that for maybe the last 8 or 9 years. So I go to the doctor, and he and I kind of butt heads because he told me that Steve and I are the healthiest people in his practice, but he's really concerned about all those vitamins I take. I think there's a connection there. And so then I said, I'm really concerned about all those side effects of those drugs that you prescribe. So that was kind of our relationship. And he would say, well, I just have to ask you if you want a tetanus shot. I said, no, I don't want a tetanus shot. So you don't even bother to ask. But so we kind of butted heads. And so he's retired. He decided to retire. And I said to Steve, that's the best call I've gotten in a long time. So anyway, the 2 doctors that were in this practice sold the practice to 2 women. The other 2 were men, and they were in their middle 70s at least. So it was really time for them to retire. And so there's these 2 new people, 2 women that have taken the practice, and I would guess they're in their late 40s, early 50s, somewhere in there. I don't know, but that's just kind of my guess. And we got a nice letter from the practice and introduced these people, and they had their kind of their stories and where they were coming and how their approach to medicine was. And so they were assigning me 1 out of 2, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to interview these 2 people before I decide who's going to be my doctor. And they had opened the door for me because one of them in particular was into holistic health, and so I thought, so that was an open door to that person. And so anyway, bottom line, Steve was going, and he'd finished his physical, and one of the doctors was sitting in with the doctor that retired about Steve's numbers from his blood test. And I wasn't there. I didn't hear the conversation, but the new doctor said, I'd like to know more about your wife's business. I don't know what Steve said to cause her to say that. And I said, well, what did you tell her? He said, well, I didn't tell her anything. I said, you didn't? So, well, that was Thursday, and Friday I was in the doctor's office with the 2 of them, one after the other, talking to them, interviewing them, and I took each one of them a printout of the landmark study, the actual journal article, and I took them the telomere study, the article printed out, and then on top of that, I stapled our layman's explanation of the landmark study and our layman's explanation of the telomere study and Dr. Chaney's letters to doctors. And then I talked to them a little bit about what I was looking for, and I'm reading their introductions to the practice that they were taking over. I said, I see that you're both interested in a healthier approach to medicine. And one of them actually said, yeah, I'm realizing that drugs don't do anything other than cover up the symptoms. And I said, that's true. And this is where we could partner and help people get rid of the cause. So I just left it there at that. And we chatted, and then the one doctor said, I noticed that you must work out because I can see your muscles in your arms. So she said, what do you use after you work out? Or do you take something after you work out? And I said, yes. And I told her about Physique. I said, I use Physique for my Shaklee, one of Shaklee's products. And she said, well, I'm really concerned about the product that my husband uses after he works out. So could you send me some information on Physique? So I did. and I gave them my websites to look at. So the bottom line is one doctor has actually signed up with the Prove It Challenge, and she bought the physique for her husband because she noticed that if she placed a $200 order, she could save $20. So I thought, woohoo! Yeah. And then, so I tracked the order to see when she would be getting it, and so I knew the date, and so she brought the Prove It Challenge with the cleanse, and I sent her some cleanse recipes and some smoothie recipes, and I didn't hear from her, and I thought, well, darn, that's kind of interesting, and she's an MD, so I really don't want to, try to bug her and call her, because she's in the transition of getting the office, set up for their practice, and she's got this purchase that she has to go through, the closing. Well, I was standing in line at the farmer's market waiting for the farmer's market to open a couple of weeks ago, and I got an email from her, and she said, oh, she was apologizing. She said, I am so sorry I didn't respond to your email because it ended up in my spam file. And I thought, oh, good. And she gave me permission to call her anytime I wanted to. So I thought, oh man, I'm in. This is really going to work well. So, she gave me permission. And so on Saturdays, for the last 2 Saturdays, I've touched base with her. And we've talked about, she has a child that's 8 years old. She's got 4 children. The 8-year-old is, she says, all she wants to eat is carbs, and she's a dancer, and she doesn't eat well. And so I was suggesting that maybe she could try the meal shake for the child, because she wasn't really into the life shake. She didn't like it. So I said, well, they do have some meal shake for that situation. And then, so she placed another order. She got more protein and life strip and meal shake. But I think the most interesting thing to me about this conversation, which is still, taking place, is she emailed me last weekend, and she said, if I take my vitalizer and my protein in the morning, and I eat a decent lunch, healthy lunch, and if I add more vegetables to my diet, I'd be covering my nutrition. Now, this is an MD asking me about her nutrition. So now I'm set up in her mind as an authority on nutrition, which and she said, I'm having a lot of patients that are having digestive issues. I said, well, that's where we can talk to them about, Shaklee's enzyme, the Easy Gest, and the Optiflora DI that helps the immune system and the digestive tract. And then there's the peppermint ginger in case they have, gas and upset. She said, they have all those products? I said, yeah. I said, my vision for us is we partner and we make this into a wellness clinic instead of a sickness clinic, which it's been ever since I've gone to this place. It's been a sickness clinic. So, so that's where I am with it right now. Oh, and the other exciting thing is she said, well, we just got our website up. Will you and Steve please put your story so we can put it on on our website? So, and will you and also once we get established and things organized, maybe in a month or so, I want you to do a series on nutrition for the patients. And she said it could be, there's space in the office, we could do it, but she said, we'll have to see, but we've also got Zoom, so that would work as well. So anyway, that's my MD story, and I really feel that, I just went slowly, and I went inch by inch and tried to give her a little bit of information. It's like putting crumbs out on the trail for her to gobble up. And also they read Steve's book. We gave them Steve's book on slaying the food myth. And she said, oh, he has one on slaying the supplement myth? And I said, yes. So I said, well, I've got to order that. But they've read Steve's book. They really liked Steve's book. They liked his writing style. They said it was really easy for them and for a person to understand that's not into the medical field or the nutrition field. So it's just been a slow drip on these people. But I think the main thing is I had the opportunity to go in there and interview both of them, one after the other, and set it up myself and Steve as we can be your partner in this, and we could make this a wellness clinic. And they've said things, like, yeah, I realized that giving people drugs just causes the symptoms to be, mask the symptoms, but does nothing to take care of the problem. I said, that's where nutrition comes in. We can take care of the problem. So that's my doctor story.
Oh, Susie, this is just fantastic. And I think what we'll do is, we'll end up here because I think this is just a beautiful, beautiful endpoint. But maybe just a little word about, you could have decided to take a pass or just go get another doctor, but you cared enough and you knew enough of what you wanted that first of all, you went out and interviewed the doctors. But second of all, you were open to provide them information and they were open. Maybe the folks who went to medical school for a long time ago and are steeped in a particular paradigm, but that is beginning to shift. And the reason I wanted to have this story as part of our webinar tonight is to give people some encouragement. Just try, just provide information. Anyone can go and print off the landmark study, the full study. Anyone can print off the telomere study. Anyone, maybe you'll provide us your layman's explanation because I've seen a number of them, but I'm sure yours are superior. And so
it's just the one with the bar graphs and the circles around it to show.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
There's
Yeah.
nothing fancy, and the other one was the shoelace thing with the graph, and the 40-year-old the 80-year-old has the telomere length of a 40-year-old. That was
good. Yeah, good. So yeah, we've got those, and then of course we've got Jim Brooks' amazing presentation from the Global Conference last year. 17 minutes of just pure gold in terms of an explanation about landmark, particularly landmark 2, the mind-blowing results that come from that.
Well, we haven't got there yet, so
Yeah.
to landmark 2.
Well, yeah, exactly. We did a wonderful talk with Dr. Jamie, and that's still kind of in legal review because landmark 2 hasn't been published, and so I had to be very careful about what we actually put out, other than just a one-time shot. So anyway, I think all of us, first of all, why doesn't everyone just, you can put in the chat, our thanks to Susie, and I think it's very clear what, good, Suzanne, thank you, God bless you, inspiration, yes, absolutely. To me, the lesson is very clear. Open your mouth, be a little bit bold, tell people what we have, and then follow up in a very gentle, systematic, organized, respectful way, and great things can happen, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I was floored when she told me about, if I take my vitamins or my life strip and I take my protein at breakfast time and I don't eat a bad lunch and I add more vegetables to my, and she actually did the cleanse, which I thought, my God.
Yeah.
So I've been able to just inch by inch set Steve and I up as nutrition experts that they can partner with to help the people in the practice. We can make a huge difference with these people.
Absolutely. Now the interesting thing is not everyone is Suzanne Chaney with an advanced degree in chemistry, and not everyone is Dr. Steve, but we have access to the information. It wasn't that you wrote up a bunch of stuff.
I didn't write up anything.
You didn't write up anything. You just printed out the studies. So any one of us has the capacity, because we have Shaklee, because Shaklee has science, we can simply be reflectors and conduits for that science. I think that's a really big deal. Okay, so Donna, why don't you ask your question? Just private message Suzanne, and she can help you with that. So good. All right. Well, we'll close up now. But Suzanne, this is an uncommon pleasure. I have spent many many, many, many delightful days and nights at the Chaney. And we've done, gosh, how many Lutice Pacific Institute?
Well, I did 17 when you stopped counting and let me come for free.
Stop paying. It was just unbelievable. And that's a whole other call of going from.
That helped too. That changed me. That helped me change from the lad rat to the successful master coordinator living my dream.
That's it. And that was nutritive to that process. So, all right, folks, thank you very much for being involved. Suzanne, thank you for your beautiful wisdom and your marvelous speaking style. It's just fantastic, and all the inspiration. So take care, folks. We're going to finish up.
Good night.
Bye-bye.